John chapter 11, verse 11. Pray with me just a moment and I'll be out of your way. St. John chapter 11, verse 11. These things said he. And after that he said unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. I want to talk to you today, gone but not forgotten. Gone but not forgotten. Clayton preached so last night. Preacher leaned over to me, he said, boy, you're going to have to get up and do something tomorrow. I said, well, I ain't gonna wait till tomorrow. Y'all take me back to the hotel. Let me get my bags tonight. The Lord bless you. Gone, but not forgotten. To forget can be a dreadful experience. Forgetting to pay your mortgage can put you on the street. Forgetting to pay your electrical bill will leave you in darkness. Forgetting to pay your water bill will cause you to be quite parched and thirsty. Forgetting to pay your car note can leave you stranded. But there is an element that is worse than forgetting. And that element is being forgotten. Being forgotten is a situation of chaos and crisis. To be forgotten is to be forsaken. To be forgotten is to be deserted. To be forgotten is to be ignored. To be forgotten is to be neglected. To be forgotten is to be disregarded. To be forgotten is to be lonely and lonesome. To be forgotten leaves one depressed and oppressed. To be forgotten is to be withdrawn from. To be forgotten is to be erased from memory. And nobody wants to be forgotten. Babies, when not shown enough attention and affection, will cry, not wanting to feel forgotten. Dogs, when watching their masters leave the house, will bark and chase the car, not wanting to feel forgotten. Cats will meow and purr around the master's ankles, desiring to not feel forgotten. Long-time acquaintances will email, text, call, and Facebook, not wanting to be forgotten. I believe everybody will join me today in saying nobody wants to be forgotten. And I want you to know that even God, creator of heaven and earth, the maker of all things and the establishmentarian of humanity, in all his awesome deity and encompassing splendor, does not want to be forgotten. It is recorded in the Pentateuch how he admonished the children of Israel to never forget him. He says, I've been touched with the feeling of your infirmity of 400 years of slavery and bondage. I've prepared a promised land for you, and I'm going to give you houses you didn't build. I will give you land that flows with milk and honey. I will give you milk and the cows that gave it. I'll give you the honey and the bees that made it. I'll give you vineyards you didn't plant and orchards you didn't prune. I'll give you a harvest you didn't pick and fields you didn't plow. You'll drink from wells you didn't dig, and you will be rich with gold you didn't mine. I will even give you slaves that you didn't buy. But all I ask of you, when you get there, don't forget about me. Deuteronomy 8 and 11 records, beware that thou forget not the Lord thy God, not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes, which I command thee this day. David said in Psalms 9:17, and we quote it every Sunday in Sunday school, for the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all nations that what? Let me pause there. I know America is one of the greatest nations, but I'm a little afraid now. Our leaders are condoning and compromising with this homosexual spirit that's going. And I don't care how unpopular it is, homosexuality is wrong. And if it's all right in America for gays and lesbians to marry under the banner of a holy institution that God instituted, I want to go to Jerusalem and stand on top of Mount Olive when God comes down and excavates Sodom and Gomorrah and brings them back to life and repents for destroying them because homosexuality is right. But if he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, I know you don't want to hear it. I don't care if your son is gay, if your daughter is gay, it's wrong. Help me say, God doesn't want to be forgotten. God, realizing the detriment that diminishes the character and integrity of man, to forget and to be forgotten, in his blueprint for creation, sat down at his easel and began to outline his plan for man. He formed an institution to contrast the pains of forgottenness. And he called this institution memory. Memory was set forth into existence to swallow up the dreary vices of forgottenness. Memory was so important to God that not only did he give it to man, but he gave it to the beasts of the field. He gave it to the creeping thing. He gave it to the crawling thing. He gave it to the swimming thing. He gave it to the flying thing. He gave it to the hopping thing. Because without memory, the four-legged beast would die in the agony of his own hunger, not remembering how to return to his feeding ground. Without memory, the earthworm would wither and die, not remembering how to crawl back under the soil. Without memory, the snake would not remember how to return to his snake bed. Without memory, the salmon would not remember how to return to his spawning ground. Without memory, the frog would die in the water, not remembering how to return to his lily pad. Without memory, birds would die in flight, not remembering how to return to their nest. Without memory, lions would forever be lost in the hunt for prey, not remembering how to return to the lion's den. Without memory, the neighborhood dog would not remember which yard was his. Without memory, the whale would beach itself on the sand, not remembering how to return to the open sea. Memory dictates our future. Without the ability to see where we've come from, we have no sense of direction to guide us where we're going. Without memory, we're lost within the limits of our own existence, not knowing what we can do, not realizing what we can't do. I heard somebody say, without God, I can do nothing. But the absolute worst scenario of all is without memory, we wouldn't know who God is. Do I have a witness? We don't know God by what we have read about him. We don't know God by what we have heard about him. We know God by what we have experienced with him. I'm not a religious basher, but the thing that I love the most about my religion is that you can be a Confucian and never meet Confucius. You can be a Muslim and never meet Muhammad. You can be Buddhist and never meet Buddha. But if you're going to be a Christian, you got to meet Jesus. When we can reflect and remember who he has been to us, what he has been to us, where he has brought us from, we know more about him. When we can do as the old song said, look back over my shoulder, see where the Lord has brought me from. Do I have a witness of somebody that knows where he brought you from? Memory helps us to appreciate the future. Memory became so vast, so spacious in its existence until, with the passing of dispensations, the Lord chose to organize the element of memory into 5 elements. And he called these elements eons, ages, millenniums, dispensations, and times. He summed them all up equally in concise measure, chipping pieces from each one and created an amalgamated amalgamation and called it history. I don't have time to deal with all of them, but let me just tell you a little bit about history. History in its entirety is composed of the past, the present, and the future. They're all intertwined together. I'm told that history repeats itself. What has happened before is happening now, and it will happen again. The wise King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 1:9, there is nothing new under the sun. I do have a witness here. History brings the past to the present and connects the present with the future. The past was once the future, revealed as the present, and expired